Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here. Today we're tackling another fascinating set of sources.
Yeah, and this one, well, it takes us somewhere pretty unique, a place where the sun, it gives life, but it's also just relentless, an unforgiving force.
And water becomes this incredibly sacred thing. We're stepping into Oziland today.
Oziland, yeah. It's summed up by this really evocative phrase, bright faces and hidden pain.
And their guiding principle, their whole philosophy is the light is worth protecting. It sets a powerful tone right away.
It really does. So our mission really is to unpack Oziland based on these materials. We want to see how this harsh environment has shaped, well, pretty much everything.
Absolutely. Culture, society, economy, their beliefs.
Mhm.
It's all intertwined with the land. The idea is to give you, the listener, a real shortcut to understanding what makes an Ozilander tick.
And hopefully you'll pick up some surprising facts, some insights that really stick.
We'll look at the geography, what daily life is like, their social structures, how they govern themselves, even defense. All straight from the source material we've got.
Okay, so let's dive in. The foundation, the land itself.
Right. So the people are Ozilanders. The population's about 1.5 million. The area is roughly 18,350 square miles.
And they're associated with the color yellow, located south-central in their world.
Exactly. Now, the terrain,
Hmm.
it's not just sand. You've got this huge interior desert, lots of scrubland.
But it's broken up, right, by coastal oases and these sort of rocky outcrops.
Precisely. Think vast inland dunes, cracked earth, really hot, dry air. But then you get the coast.
And it's completely different.
Totally. A tropical fringe, believe it or not. Thunderstorms, much richer plant life.
Wow. So how does a place with such, extreme contrasts, how does that shape the people? It must have a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely. You've got these warm ocean currents making the coast almost lush, relatively speaking, while inland it's just punishingly dry and windy.
So right away, it tells you they have to be adaptable.
More than adaptable. They live with these extremes constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It demands ingenuity, a deep understanding of these contrasts. It's baked into who they are.
Okay, that makes sense. And you see that ingenuity in, well, everything, even their buildings.
Definitely in the architecture. Structures are built to handle the heat. Lots of adobe, sandstone, clay.
So low buildings, wide, probably internal courtyards for shade, breezy verandas.
You got it. Plus whitewashed walls to reflect the sun, often with these really bright murals. And in the coastal markets, big canopies everywhere for shade.
What's the visual inspiration like? What should we picture?
It's sort of a mix. Think the practical feel of Australian outback towns, maybe the winding nature of North African medinas, and a touch of that ancient Mesopotamian resilience.
Okay, I can picture that. And the environment influences the plants and animals too, obviously.
Hugely. The flora and fauna are just as unique. You have sungrass, long golden blades, and bristle figs.
Ah, the ones that grow with hardly any water but have sweet fruit.
That's the one. A real miracle plant there. And then there's the bloomstone cactus,
Oh yeah, the rare one that only flowers after a sandstorm. That's amazing.
isn't it? And the animals are just as adapted. Dune jackals, silent hunters, perfectly suited to the desert.
And those bright blue birds.
Oasis egrets, considered sacred, often found near water sources.
Yeah.
And then the heat worms.
Right, the burrowing ones. Feared but also revered because they regulate underground water.
Exactly. They're literally tied to the flow of life beneath the surface. It's a complex relationship.
So all these details, the plants, the animals, the climate, they must define daily life.
They absolutely do. Every meal, every piece of clothing, the sounds, it's all connected. Take their food.
Okay, what are we talking?
Hearty stuff like sand-baked flatbreads, usually with a spiced lentil paste, or oasis stew that's got dates, cactus fruit, goat meat.
Sounds flavorful. And didn't the notes mention heatworm kebabs?
They did indeed, often glazed with sweet bristle fig sauce. They use sungrass grain, those bristle figs, lots of desert herbs. It's all about using what the land provides.
And the flavor profile. Sounds intense.
It is. Smoky, sweet, savory notes, earthy, definitely spiced. They use a lot of sun-dried ingredients, preserved citrus, chili oil.
For a kick.
Yeah, but they balance it with cooling yogurt sauces. It's that contrast, again, managing the heat.
It really sounds like a dance with the elements, and the clothing must reflect that too.
Absolutely. Everyday wear is loose, breathable robes, sand-colored tunics, head wraps for sun and sand protection.
Practical. What about harsher conditions? Journeys?
Then you see heat-reflective outerwear, maybe woven with metallic threads, goggles, face veils are common, wide-brimmed hats, and dust cloaks.
With hidden water flasks. That's clever.
Essential tech, really.
Right.
And then for ceremonies, things get more elaborate. brightly dyed cates, sometimes made from that rare bloomstone thread.
Wow. And jewelry?
Gold and copper often symbolizing oasis spirits. And face paint, sometimes using sand and charcoal for specific rituals or funerals.
It's amazing how function and meaning are woven together in everything. What about sound? Music?
Oh, the music really echoes the landscape. You hear these desert folk chants, kind of haunting, traveling ballads telling epic stories, even energetic storm dances.
And lullabies, too, right? Oasis lullabies.
Yes, softer sounds for quieter moments. The instruments are just as evocative. Clay drums, flutes made of bone or reed, metallic finger cymbals.
Large gourds for bass drum.
Right. And the most unique, these things called humming stones.
Humming stones, what are?
They're placed along cliffs or dunes, and the wind blows through them, creating these sort of natural, resonant sounds, like the desert itself is singing.
That's incredible. What are the songs usually about?
Survival, mostly. Enduring hardship, water is divine, love, community, ancestors, the big themes of their existence.
And their language must reflect this, too. Mottos, slang.
Definitely. Key mottos are like guiding lights, the light is worth protecting, water remembers, no one survives alone. They really live by these.
Powerful stuff. Any catchy slang.
Oh, yeah. Storm's breath for when you're awestruck or maybe frustrated. Find your oasis, like wishing someone peace or clarity.
I like that one.
And my favorite is bloom or bake.
Bloom or bake, what's that mean?
Basically, rise to the challenge or get left behind. It perfectly captures their whole attitude.
So if you put it all together, the taste, the feel of the clothes, the sounds, the words, what's the experience of being an Ozilander like day to day? Is it just pure struggle?
I think it's more complex than just struggle.
Yeah.
Yes, it's incredibly challenging. Every moment involves a kind of ingenuity and negotiation with the environment.
Right. Every meal, every drink of water is significant.
Exactly. It's not just about comfort. It's a deliberate act of survival and maybe even appreciation. But it also fosters this incredibly deep connection to the land, yes, but maybe even more so to the community.
Because you can't survive alone there.
Precisely. So it's hardship, definitely, but also this profound resilience and I think a deep gratitude for what they do have, especially each other.
That paints a really vivid picture. And that community focus, that interdependence that must shape their whole society, their politics.
It absolutely does. Their class system, for example, isn't about money or birth. It's informal, based on reputation.
So who gets the most respect?
Survivors, people known for their endurance, and storytellers, those who hold the community's history and wisdom. They're highly regarded.
And the water bearers, they sounded important.
Almost sacred status.
Eh.
They're the healers, the herbalists, the ones who tend the springs and understand water lore. Then you have traders and wayfinders, essential for connecting settlements.
Respected middle tier, maybe? What about outsiders?
Outlanders are viewed with caution initially, someone without clear ties. But they can earn status. It's all about contribution, proving your worth to the community.
So social mobility isn't about who your parents were, but what you do, what you survive.
Exactly. It's earned. And family structures reflect this, too. Very tight-knit, intergenerational.
Multifamily compounds, right? Grandparents, parents, kids, all living together.
Often, yes. Sharing resources, sharing childcare. Kids are raised collectively, parents, plus lots of aunties and uncles who might not even be blood relatives.
Just chosen family.
Yeah. And elders are hugely revered. They're called living libraries, keepers of wisdom.
Which ties into their naming traditions too, doesn't it? They're quite layered.
Very layered. You get a given name, sure, but then also an oasis name linked to your birthplace or a significant place for you.
And then an earned title.
Right, an honorific, like of the dunes or stormbound, something you gain through your actions, your experiences.
So your name literally tells your story, your connection to the land and your community.
Exactly. It's a narrative map. And adopted families, spiritual families, they're common too. Shared experience creates bonds as strong as blood.
And their customs really drive home these values, especially around water and stories.
Oh, massively. Offering water, that's the ultimate sign of trust.
Denying it.
It's basically social suicide, a huge taboo. Greetings often involve just touching foreheads briefly, sharing warmth, acknowledging shared humanity.
Simple but meaningful. And indoors, offering tea is key.
Bloomstone tea, yeah. A mark of hospitality. Funerals are quite distinct, too. Silent walks into the desert.
Wearing masks, representing the heat worms.
Yeah, charcoal-painted masks, guiding the soul underground, acknowledging that dual nature of the heatworm. Dangerous, but also part of the life cycle.
Powerful imagery. And coming of age involves a solo vigil.
A solo sand watch. A night alone in the dunes. You come back changed, maybe with a story, a insight, even a physical mark. It signifies readiness.
And story circles are central.
Absolutely. Gatherings by firelight, sharing oral histories, and interrupting a story. Huge no-no. Deep reverence for shared wisdom.
Okay, so with this deep reliance on oral tradition, on consensus, what challenges might that create? Decisions must take time.
They probably do take longer, yeah. Reaching consensus isn't quick. But the flip side is immense community buy-in. It builds incredibly strong bonds, ensures everyone feels heard or at least considered.
Which probably shapes our politics, too. It's a loose confederation.
Exactly. Independent oasis states, each run by a council of keepers. These aren't hereditary rulers.
They're elected. Elders. Traders.
Water wisdom keepers, even individuals called storm chosen, believed to have some kind of divine insight. It's a mix.
And no single leader overall.
No king or president. There's a rotating high sand table where envoys from the oases meet, usually seasonally, to discuss the big issues, trade routes, emergencies, and especially water allocation.
Consensus is key there, too, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's all about collective survival, respecting ancestral wisdom. Even silence in council meetings can be interpreted as agreement or deep thought. It's a very deliberate process.
Interesting. And besides the formal councils, there are informal groups with influence. Factions.
Oh, yes. Powerful ones. You've got the water bearers, circle those healers and mystics we mentioned. They heavily influence health, spirituality, and are fierce guardians against anyone hoarding resources.
Okay. Who else?
The bristle trade.
Yeah.
A major cartel, really, controlling the spice and fig exports. They're wealthy, influential, sometimes even fund infrastructure.
So economic power.
Definitely. Then there are the storm-marked wanderers. These are charismatic figures, sort of mystics or prophets, whose visions sometimes shape local customs or warnings. Highly respected, sometimes feared.
And the mysterious one, the Hollow Guard.
Right. More rumor than fact, maybe. An underground group supposedly protecting ancient sites, forbidden knowledge. They operate in the shadows, intervening if someone digs too deep into things best left alone.
Fascinating. What about law enforcement? How does that work without a central state?
It's community-based. Sun Watchers, appointed locally, trained as mediators, peacekeepers, not police in our sense.
And out in the deep desert.
Justice is decentralized. Traveling arbiters might settle disputes, or sometimes sand judgment.
Sand judgment? What's that?
Could be a ritual duel or maybe an endurance test. It varies. But the focus is usually on restoration, making amends. Exile is possible, but usually with provisions enough to survive. Execution or long imprisonment are rare.
So reintegration or safe removal, not just punishment.
Exactly. It all circles back to that interdependence. Everyone is needed, or at least their loss impacts the whole.
And that communal spirit must drive their economy, too. It's based on scarcity.
Scarcity management, yeah. Plus artisan goods and that unique desert agriculture. Coastal areas export high-value stuff. Bristle figs, bloomstone petals, special pickled roots.
And textiles. From sungrass.
Right, sungrass, cloths, ceremonial stuff from bloomstone thread. Also stone and claywork pottery, those humming stones we talked about.
And desert alchemy.
Bloomstone tea, heatworm oil, used for medicine, maybe rituals. Even their survival gear. The cloaks, the water filters, are valuable exports. People prize the ingenuity.
But they still need to import some things. Metal. Lumber.
Yeah, things the desert doesn't provide. Metal, wood, larger animals. They trade carefully for those. And while they might use standard Azaman coins for external trade.
Internally, it's different. Barter.
Barter is big, yes. Also weight-based tokens, maybe made of clay or metal.
And
seasonal script.
And those unique currencies. Water tokens.
Measured credits for fresh water. Hugely valuable. Then sunstones, small, carved, amber-like things used by nomads. And rain promises.
Rain promises. Script redeemable during the monsoon. That's amazing. How does an economy even work when water is the ultimate scarce resource? And what does a rain promise feel like?
It's incredible, isn't it? Holding a rain promise. It's not just currency. It's like holding
hope.
Yeah, a tangible bet on the future, on the rains coming. It's trust that the elements will provide, and trust that the community will honor this note when the time comes. It connects everyone's well-being directly to nature's cycle and mutual support.
That's a really powerful concept for currency. And labor is organized, too. Guilds.
Cooperative guilds, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're more than just trade unions. They're social safety nets, too. Salt route weavers, sand trailers for caravans, the oasis table for food folks, the clearing for builders.
And joining isn't automatic. There are trials.
Often, yeah. Rigorous entry trials. Yeah. Maybe a solo desert crossing or mastering a complex craft. It proves your commitment and skill.
Everything reinforces that community bond and reliance on skill. Just like their beliefs, I suppose. Animistic, elemental.
Very much so. Religion centers on water, wind, ancestral spirits. It's a fluid cosmology, mostly oral tradition. Three main archetypes stand out:
Shalai, the oasis mother.
goddess of mercy, hidden springs, renewal. Then Rukthar, the heat worm below.
The force of trial and transformation, linked to the earth.
Exactly. And Jalen, the storm's eye. A messenger spirit often seen in sandstorms, bringing omens or change.
And no big temples, worship is local.
Highly personal and localized, myths might vary slightly from oasis to oasis, tied to specific landmarks. Faith is kept alive by those water bearers, the healers, historians, dream interpreters.
Some chosen by a boiling dream, a fever vision.
Apparently so. And towns often have path callers, designated story keepers who maintain the oral traditions.
What about rituals, daily things?
Simple things woven into life. Offering the first water drawn to Shalai, sandwatch vigils, those quiet nights under the stars, ash binding, a ritual for grief or resolving gold.
And bigger festivals.
The blooming, celebrating the first rain, the bloomstone flowers, a time of joy. The withering marking the dry season, more solemn, songs of endurance, and night of echoes for communing with ancestors.
And that core idea. No prayers are written. Everything is spoken or sung.
Faith, like water, is meant to move. It captures their fluid, living spirituality perfectly.
Beautiful. And this fluidity extends to their defense, their military. It's not traditional.
Not at all. Fortifications blend in, watchposts carved into cliffs, oasis defenses with hidden water sources, wind towers double as signal posts. It's all low profile, about visibility and using the environment.
No standing army, just militias.
A network, really, under the Sandward Pact. Local militias, you have sandwarders, trackers, skirmishers, storm riders, elite scouts on fast desert mounts, and sunflame archers.
Using special arrows, venom, blessed oils.
Exactly, long-range specialists. And becoming a defender involves a trial too, right? Testing endurance, silence.
Makes sense. And their strategy isn't direct confrontation.
It's asymmetrical warfare. Ambushes, mirage illusions, hit and run. Using the desert itself. Sand smoke bombs, reflective cloaks to disappear.
Guiding enemies into traps, using the land against them.
Precisely. They might even try to spiritually disorient invaders, or call on desert spirits to shift winds or dunes. The land is their ultimate weapon.
So their strength isn't brute force, it's evasion. Resilience, knowing how to vanish.
Exactly. Vanishing without a trace is key. Their military myths aren't about conquest, but sacrifice, endurance. Figures like the bone-dry blade or storm-forged.
What do those mean?
The bone-dry blade was supposedly a warrior who crossed the deep desert without water to save someone. Storm-forged is a title for someone who survives a solo journey through a massive storm and returns. Changed, maybe with insight. Charms made of cracked glass symbolize living on that edge.
Wow. So how does a military identity rooted in vanishing and invoking spirits rather than just fighting reflect their overall worldview?
I think it shows their strength is internal, adaptable, deeply connected to their beliefs and their environment. It's not about overwhelming force, but about outlasting, outwitting, making the cost of attacking them simply too high. Survival through resilience, not dominance.
It really is remarkable. Every single piece connects back. The climate, the customs, the beliefs, the economy, defense. It's all shaped by that harsh beauty, that reverence for water, that absolute need for community.
Bright faces and hidden pain. The light is worth protecting. It all just fits.
It does. And maybe that leaves us with one last thing to consider, after we wrap up.
Well, what's that?
Well, if their core philosophy is the light is worth protecting, what exactly is the hidden pain they're collectively guarding against? What are they protecting so fiercely?
That's a deep question. And maybe what's the cost of that protection? What gets sacrificed, perhaps? Individual freedom, facing certain truths.
Exactly. What shadows might that bright light be casting? Definitely something to chew on.
Food for thought, for sure.
Well, that was an incredible journey into Oziland. Thanks for guiding us through it.
My pleasure. Always fascinating stuff.
And thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.